Welcome to MCN. This is the Triumph Street Triple 765 RX. Now, what is this bike? So, from the headstock backwards, it's a 765 RS, which is kind of the all-singing street triple. So that means it's got the highest tuned engine in the range, 128 bhp. It's got all the bells and whistles when it comes to electronic rider aids and up and down quick shifter. And it's got an Öhlins rear shock and sticky Pirelli Diablo Supercorsa tyres. So it starts off at a very good base, and it's one of our favourite nakeds. From the headstock forwards, it's a little bit different, it's a little bit racier. So where the RS has got Showa forks, fully adjustable, still really good. This has got Öhlins fully adjustable forks. It's got slightly sharper steering geometry. It's got a milled aluminium top yoke. And I suppose the biggest difference from when you're riding, which we'll find out in a minute, is the riding position. So you haven't got straight bars like the RS or any other street triple. You've actually got clip-ons. So the big question is, why have Triumph stuck such a racy front end on a street triple? Well, I think we need to take a little ride and I'll tell you the good things about that front end and the things that aren't so good. So the big question is, why have Triumph put this fancy front end on a street triple when there's nothing much wrong with the street triple RS? Well, it's all about giving you more front end feel, and more front end grip, and more front end confidence. And as we all know, that's the thing that worries most riders. It's flying into corners and trusting the front end. So let's start with the riding position first. So with these clip-ons, you're forced more over the front wheel compared to a normal street triple where you're sat quite upright with its straight bars, and that bike's really nicely balanced, but ultimately you are sat a little bit too far away from the front wheel. And that's the thing with all nakeds, they're never quite as stable going into corners as a race rep with clip-ons. So with the RX, you're more over the front, you're pushing the front tyre into the ground more as you go into a corner, and you can feel more of what's going on and take advantage of these really sticky Pirelli Diablo Supercorsa tyres. So that's the first thing. Then we've got the forks. Like I said earlier, the Showa forks on the standard street triple are really good, fully adjustable, nice feeling. But the Öhlins just adds a layer of plushness. The fork action is a lot smoother. Again, it gives you even more feel, it gives the tyre more chance to grip, and it gives you more confidence. So it's kind of win-win-win in that respect. And you know, some of the best front ends on any road bike, things like the Tuono, that really sticks out for me as having a fantastic front end. This is right up there. This is really up there. And then you've got the steering geometry. So it's a little bit steeper, the forks. The trail is a little bit shorter, the wheelbase is a little bit shorter, and that means that the RX is just that little bit more agile, but still very stable. So there's no disadvantages with regard to the forks. There's no disadvantages for the steering. And by the way, this top yoke looks fantastic, this milled aluminium top yoke, which is special on the RX. The only drawback for this riding position is the fact that you are more on the front, so it is a little bit wristier, so maybe not as practical as a normal street triple, but the bars aren't too extreme. So you can see that the bars are actually above the top yoke, so you're not right down like you would be on a race rep. And also the tank on this bike is very short, so you're not kind of splayed across it reaching out for the bars like you would be on, say, a Yamaha 900 or XSI 900 GP or the ill-fated Speed Triple 1200 RR. So it's not too uncomfortable. It's still naked like a normal street triple, so that's got some compromises, but all the time you're wondering why Triumph haven't just put a fairing on it. You look down and it's got clip-ons, nice wide clip-ons as well, like a modern race bike, really nice. But why didn't they put a fairing on it? I don't see their reluctance to whack a fairing on one of these. And it would be just win-win, because on the road you'd have more wind protection, it'd be nicer to ride, and on the track it would be faster down the straights. So it's a strange one, but as it is, the front end on this bike, it feels like you can't go into corners fast enough. There's so much feel, there's so much confidence, it's absolutely incredible. And just while we're here, I just want to talk about the front brake as well. Triumph and a lot of manufacturers have found something in recent years to make their ABS a lot more a lot less intrusive and a lot more feel than it used to have. And the brakes on this, the Brembo Stylemers, are just incredible. And you know, brake feel with modern bikes is as much down to the hardware as the electronics, and quite a lot of the times the electronics get in the way of even the best hardware, but not with this. The brakes are just incredible. So yeah, this is a front end to be very, very happy with. So on paper, Triumph have created a street triple that's kind of the worst of all worlds. You've got a bike that for the road has got kind of drop handlebars and no fairing, which makes it less kind of an all-rounder. And if you were to take this on the track, you've got a bike that hasn't got the aerodynamics to go fast down the straights. But in actual fact, they've created a bike that just handles so beautifully. That front end connected to the rest of this bike, which is, like we said before, RS with its Öhlins and its beautifully balanced chassis, which is born out of their Daytona 675 back in the day. They got it so right, it's never really changed. Everything about this bike, when you take it through a set of B roads or A roads, is phenomenal. From the brakes to the way it handles, to the way it grips, to the confidence it gives you. It's just amazing. It's not too uncomfortable either, which is one of the great things. The bars are low, and ultimately if you're going to do a long trip on this, you'd probably be wishing you had straight bars, but they're not too bad. And for a sort of a compact super sport bike, it's relatively roomy. I'm 6 foot tall and my legs aren't cramped. There's not too much of a stretch to the bars. It's absolutely amazing. And then you've got the engine, which is kind of the heart and soul of any bike. 128 bhp, which on paper doesn't sound like a lot because we're so used to 200 horsepower figures now. But when you've got a bike that weighs 188 kilos and is just handles so well, it's just the perfect amount. It's absolutely beautiful. Loads of grunt, loads of top end power. It's got so much top end power that the anti-wheelie is always working for its money in the first 3 gears. I mean, talking of electronics, it's got so much grip, the traction control is going to have to wait a long time before it works. There's no ABS intervention. And the engine is just very exciting. It's got a deep growl, it's got that triple soundtrack that we all know and love. I mean, it's just tick, tick, tick. And elsewhere, as we've come to know and expect from Triumph, the attention to detail and the build quality is absolutely superb. I especially love this milled aluminium top yoke, it's beautiful. You've got a colour dash with connectivity, you've got all the designer labels and chassis. You've got an engine which is absolutely bomb-proof, as is proved in racing. And in its various iterations, it powers just about every middleweight Triumph now. The only thing you don't get for your almost 13 grand is cruise control, which arguably you probably need on a bike with drop handlebars or heated grips. But apart from that, it's got the kitchen sink thrown at it. There are a few negatives, I would say. It's an expensive bike and I think it's quite niche.
What do you reckon so far, mate?
I absolutely love it.
Yeah?
It's built for these country roads. I mean, I don't know what else it's good for, but it's a flipping good cornering bike. If I was going to live with a street triple every day, I would probably have the RS version with the straight handlebars. So I kind of wonder who it's for, because I think it needs a fairing. I mean, every time I ride it, I think, why hasn't it got a fairing? Because you look down, you've got clip-ons, you think you should have a fairing. But you can also buy a Moto 2 edition street triple, which is exactly the same spec as this, just under 15 grand, but it's got a load of carbon goodies on it, and it's in the black and Lumo paint scheme. This is only available in grey and red, by the way, in homage to the original RX of 2014. And when the Moto 2 edition came out in 2023, I was left a little bit nonplussed because it was an exciting bike to ride, but the fact it was branded as Moto 2, it kind of left me feeling a little bit shortchanged because it wasn't a Moto 2, it just had a Moto 2 sticker on it. So I kind of think differently about the RX. I think it's an amazing bike, like I say, quite niche. You know, to me, it's almost like a supermoto. It's just something you can only really use on B&A roads. But the other interesting thing is that it's 2026 now. Triumph said they're only going to be making this for 1 year only. And if you look at the rest of the range, the RS has been out for 3 years now. They've discontinued the R because the Trident 800 has come along. So it might be pointing to the fact that Triumph are going to be revamping their Street Triple 765 range maybe next year in 2027. So if this is the kind of the last hurrah for the Street Triple, I think it's a great send-off. I'm sure the next generation is going to be a lot better, but for now they've created this bike which, I mean, I can't get enough of in the corners. It's absolutely amazing, and I would urge anybody, if you get the chance, to at least have a go on this bike. So that's it for this video on the Street Triple. Stay tuned over the coming weeks and months because we're going to be testing more sporty nakeds. We've got a group test coming up where we've got the winner of the 2025 Sports Naked Test, which is the MT-09 SP Yamaha, against the new KTM 990 Duke, which wasn't in that test last year. So stay tuned for that. We've got loads of great tests coming up. So if you want to catch them, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you soon.